Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down.
Hello, folks. How you doing? Okay, we're back here today with the second day of counting down, until Christmas. So we're here with, revealing DisingenuWisconsin, reasons basically 10 and 9. So these reasons, basically what we're going to be talking about today is going to be, number one, the barring of the coroner. And there's so much tied up in that, beyond just barring her, but so much around it, and we're going to get into that. And the second thing we're going to talk about is the fact that the state was hiding what they had done with the bones that they had given back in 2011, and the fact that they were hiding it. Okay? Remember, we're focusing on the improprieties, right? And not just at the law enforcement level, right? But we're going to see it at multiple levels throughout this countdown. Okay, so to get right into it, the barring of the coroner is a huge thing. It's okay. We'll start out with, we all know Stephen Avery was wrongfully convicted in 1985 for a crime he didn't commit. Okay. We know Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department was involved with that case. They investigated it and all that, and the Manitowoc County DA prosecuted it, and Dennis Vogel, and all that. Okay, then it was proven that he did not commit the crime. He was exonerated. Okay. In the Halbach investigation, they immediately point out that it's a conflict of interest for Manitowoc to be there in the media. I mean, they said it in the media, if you remember watching it in Making a Murderer. So they said it in the media that it was a conflict of interest, and yet they still allowed all of the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department officers to be there. The departments that had been involved with Stephen's prior wrongful conviction were all allowed to be there. Okay? What's interesting about the coroner is that the coroner's office is literally the one department at Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department that didn't have a conflict of interest, that literally had no involvement in Stephen's 85 case because Penny Burnson was not dead. Okay? So no need for a coroner when the victim is still alive. Okay? So that's how that works. So there was no conflict of interest with the coroner's department, which makes it all the more odd that they're opening the floodgates to let every single person from Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department in on this, but the one department that doesn't have a conflict of interest is the one that's barred from the scene. That on its own is interesting. Okay? Because you think about it, they had guys like Michael Bushman. I mean, they're bringing retired Manitowoc County Sheriff's Departments that were actually on the arrest party for Stephen Avery. They were literally there in 1985 to arrest Stephen Avery. And even they're there in taking part in this. Michael Bushman. Michael Bushman was a part of the original arrest party back in 1985, and even he is coming out of retirement to help with the Halbach investigation. So, but the coroner, the one department that didn't have a conflict of interest, they're not allowed. It gets even more interesting because recently Ken Kratz was put together with a supporter of Stephen and Brendan. It was for an upcoming documentary called Convicting a Murderer, and it put the supporter and Ken Kratz in the same room, and we actually hear Ken Kratz at one point saying, "What do I need a coroner for? A coroner just comes in and kicks the body and says they're dead," which was insensitive beyond measure, but that's Kenny. he says that, but then he says, what I really need is a forensic anthropologist. I don't need a coroner. And it's funny because after this clip came out on Twitter, Jerry Buting saw it, and he immediately tweeted that Deb Kakich, the Manitowoc County coroner, was ready to show up and already had a forensic anthropologist ready to come with her down to the salvage yard. Okay? So that now more reason why they didn't want her there, because they knew she was bringing the proper personnel that they didn't really want there. See, it's the decisions they make and the things that they do that don't make sense and that go against logic. And there's a lot of it wrapped up with their decisions regarding the coroner. There's a whole lot of it. The coroner was bringing a forensic anthropologist. The Manitowoc County coroner was the one person here that was actually going to bring what was required. And yet it was the one person barred from taking any part. I just find that interesting. That can't be by accident, especially since she was bringing a forensic anthropologist with her. She was more equipped and qualified to be there than anybody else that was there. I mean, anyway. So, yeah. That's what it is. That's a lot of the things surrounding the coroner. It's just bizarre. I mean, and it wasn't just, I mean, it was city officials, Manitowoc County officials, that actually had to call her personally and tell her to back off. I mean, that's just bizarre. Why are high up city officials getting involved in it? It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like I said, it shows the impropriety, the continued impropriety. And like I said, it goes up and down the ladder. People try to say, oh yeah, you know, they couldn't all be doing it, but they're all doing it. Everybody's like, I mean, this BS goes up and down the damn ladder. All the way up to the Assistant Attorney General. Tom Fallon is, involved in this. And people say, well, what did Tom Fallon do? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the state hiding what it did with the bones that it gave back to the Hallbox in 2011. Let's talk about that. Because Tom Fallon was there, and so was Norm Gahn. Ken Kratz had already been disgraced, so he was nowhere around. But Tom Fallon and Norm Gahn were there, and Norm Gahn is the one that wrote the statute that tells us, or should have told them, that they weren't supposed to give those bones away because it's like destroying biological evidence. And according to statute, you're not supposed to do that. And, well, when it comes down to it, that's going to be precisely why they hid it. That's going to be precisely why they hid what they did, because they knew it was wrong. You understand? By knowing it was wrong and doing it anyway and trying to hide it, I mean, you don't get much more improprietous than that. I mean, that's some severe impropriety. You know, Norm Gahn is the one that wrote the statute. And he's there. Tom Fallon is there. They know what they were doing is wrong. But they do it anyway. Right? So, these are some of the problems. And I'll leave the link to that, to the video that I did with Travis and Tracy. Travis is an attorney. And Tracy is a very knowledgeable person who is just basically a few credits shy of being able to go take the bar herself, has a passion for criminal justice and everything. So she also is with Travis and I, and we discuss it in these videos. So you guys actually get to hear the point of view from two legal minds as well. Not just me. So if you're interested, I'll be leaving the links for 2 of those videos down below where we discuss the giving back of the bones to the Hallbox and many of the implications around that. And we also show a lot of the ledgers that were held back that weren't turned over to Stephen's attorneys because they didn't want Stephen's attorneys to know what they'd done, because technically they're supposed to tell Stephen before they do that. Otherwise, it's a violation of his due process, and that's something that can trigger a new trial. So that's kind of where it's at. It's, you know, it's the hiding, for me, it's like I said, it's just with this series, and the whole idea is that it's supposed to be showing the improprieties. I mean, this is a clear one. They clearly hid. I mean, they even hid the page of Queso. The page in Queso where they talk about what they were doing on this particular day, that never got turned over to Stephen's attorneys. It never made it to Zellner. Okay? It was last year on December 18th, Zellner filed a motion because she wanted to test these particular bones. Okay? Last year on December 18th. You'll see that one of the videos I post below is from December 18th. And on December 18th, she filed a motion, and she was asking to test some bones, and immediately Wrecking Crew members were noticing that those numbers were on this, one of the last pages of Queso, one of the very, very last pages of Queso, pages 1114 and 1115, and these pages, they immediately read those and go, okay, well, these bones have been given back to the Hall box, because the actual Queso report tells us that's what happened. That they went through all these bags of bones and picked out the human bones or whatever, and then they ended up sending those over to, giving them to Mark Wiegert, and Mark Wiegert took them over to Whiting Funeral Home. So the Wrecking Crew immediately noticed that. Travis and I and Tracy got together to go ahead and get on and talk about it that night, and we started talking about it, and Travis started talking about the implications of it, of them holding that back and hiding what they had done, and all that sort of stuff. So like I said, I'll leave the videos for that down below, but it's like I said, the fact that they knew what they were doing was wrong and they did it anyway, I mean, that's, to me, hugely telling. And when you couple it together with all the other things, right? The coroner, you know, barring the coroner, the one department that had no conflict of interest, the one person that was actually trying to bring the proper personnel to investigate this and to forensically collect the remains, the cremains of Teresa Halbach. And she's the one person that was going to be doing this right, and she's barred. It's like, again and again, time after time after time, the decisions don't make sense, and they are totally totally illogical and, counterintuitive. It's just ridiculous. Why would you bar her, especially when she's bringing the right personnel? I mean, especially when she's from the one department that doesn't have a conflict of interest, and you've basically allowed every other department from that sheriff's department onto the property and into this investigation. I mean, it doesn't make sense. The decision making doesn't make sense. And unless you apply a certain logic to it. When you apply the logic that they were trying to assert their own narrative, and they were keen to keep any troublemakers out of it. Maybe that's what they saw Deb as, the coroner. They maybe saw her as a troublemaker. I don't know. But like I said, it doesn't make any sense to bar the person who's trying to bring the right personnel. It's just completely illogical and ridiculous. So there's no sense in that. And then, like I was talking about in last night's video, is you got the hood latch DNA. Clear impropriety, because there's no way that Stephen left 1.9 nanograms by touching the hood latch. It's 1.9 nanograms is more consistent with a DNA collection from somebody's groin, let's say. So it's actually more in the range of that amount. So and what do we think happened? A swab, relabeling, basically, so that one of Stephen Avery's groin swabs became the hood latch swab, right? So on and on the impropriety goes, and we're going to go on to the next, days leading up into Christmas, where we're going to be talking about a lot more of these things. So You know, it's wild. It's wild. But check out the videos that I posted down below if you haven't before, because they are quite interesting. And like I said, you get to hear an actual lawyer looking at it and analyzing it and giving you his thoughts, along with Tracy, who is actually there in Wisconsin. So she actually did her education there in Wisconsin. She understands kind of the inner workings there, and the situation there on the ground in Wisconsin. She understand how those courts work, and that stuff, because she's been following that for a very long time. And so she's also very knowledgeable, because she actually is able to kind of give us some more detailed information about that area of Wisconsin and what will kind of typically tend to happen and that stuff. So go check those videos out. I encourage you to check them out. They're really good. So so that's reasons 10 and 9, folks. And the state has so many things. I mean, look, Fenn did the 80 more things on Twitter, and she now has her podcast, and the 80 more things is it's serious. The list gets long with this case of just things that don't make sense, don't add up, don't follow procedure, don't just the things done improperly. And you got to ask yourself, why is there so many things done improperly? And and you generally kind of, that's for me, that's a big tell. It's a big tell. If there's not, I can't find anything in this case where it seems like it was done correctly or the way it should have been done, and everything's done in some janky, weird way. There's probably a reason why that is, because something dishonest is going on. So that will be the tone for this series of videos counting down to Christmas. So I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.